Hello guys, my name is Kirill and today I'm going to show you how I mix drums for prior position demo that I've done using GetGood drums, might help in Signature Pack version 2. Alright, here's my Studio One session. Let's close effects and hide audio tracks, so we will focus on drums only. I'm not going to talk about routing because everyone works in different DAW, and there are tutorials on official GetGood drums channel on how to route it in pretty much every DAW. So let me play you a little bit of clip and we will dive straight into mixing. Cool. Anyways, you can listen to the whole clip right here, and let's start mixing. Alright, let's start with kick drum. First of all, let's disable every plugin and go step by step. The first plugin is this. This is Hoser EQ made by Boss Digital and I love it. It has a great character. It's something between the SSL and NIFs EQ, and what I've done here is I'm boosting a little bit of 10K to bring up some presence using narrow Q and bell shape. Then I'm boosting a little bit of 2.5K for this collect type of attack, killing a bit of 200, but not too much. This is one of the most problematic areas in pretty much every kick drum. And finally boosting a little bit of 60 Hz, which is the body of the kick drum, again using bell shape and narrow Q. I'll show you how it sounds with and without the plugin. This is with. Without. Next step is this. This is Fog Filter Pro Q and I'm using it to filter out unneeded sub information, and I really wouldn't use it if this Hoser Q had a high pass filter. Next step is this. This plugin is called Plus 10 dB, also made by Boss Digital, and I'm using it as further EQ and compressor. Let's take a look on EQ section first. And what I'm doing is further boosting 60 Hz, killing a little bit of boxy sounding, what is this, 450, boosting a little bit of 800, which is not a common area to boost in metal music, but I like how it sounds, so I keep it. And killing a little bit of 3K. Let's listen how it sounds with and without. Here's without. With. Way better. And let's take a look at compression. What I'm using is 25 millisecond attack, 100 millisecond release time, ratio of 5, and I'm compressing it until I see like 10 to 12 decibels of gain reduction. And since this compressor has dry-wet control knob, I'm letting a little bit of dry signal through to give it more life, I guess, if it makes sense. And let's listen. yeah, sounds a little bit more tighter, I guess. And the final plugin of the chain is this classical Slate digital virtual tape machines, and I guess everyone uses it right now. It adds a little bit more low end to the sound and makes it more analog-ish. And yeah, I kept it almost at default settings. I think I only switched to half-inch track, and yeah, check it out. Sounds great to me. Let's again disable every plugin and engage them step by step. That's how I done my kick drum. Now, let's move to the snare drum. As you can see, I have both mics routed separately. Usually I process each mic, but in this case snare sounds great on its own, so I didn't have to do it. The only thing I've done is I put this transient designer to give snare wires more sustain. It's on snare bottom. And then I send these two to this bus, and that's where all the processing happens. First plugin is this, again Hoser EQ, bringing some air, a little bit of 3K to help it to cut through, killing some 470 and boosting the body, which is 200. In this case I'm using the shelf type. Then killing everything below 100 with this Fab Filter Pro Q. And then I have again plus 10 dB, not using EQ section this time, only compression, and same settings as kick does have, but compressing it a little bit stronger, I guess, and letting a little bit more of the natural signal through. And the last part is default settings of virtual tape machines to soften up transients a bit and give snare more meat. And I'll disable every plugin and play it for you. Engaging the EQ. Filter. Compression. And virtual tape machines. And this is my snare drum. When it comes to toms, I use the same processing chain on every tom, but adjusting settings for each particular tom. And what I use is this virtual mix rack by Slate Digital. And first thing I have here is VCC virtual channel, modeling a British Neve type console, drive all the way up, not touching input and output. This is one of the coolest plugins, especially this Neve model. It creates this famous low-end, high-end thing, also giving it a little bit of harmonic distortion. And next, this FGS, modeled after SSL 4K equalizer, What I'm doing here is filtering 100, killing this mod at 450, quite a lot. Then a little bit of 1K also goes down, and boosting top end. That's it for EQ. Then I have this compression, and this is typical compressor settings for toms: slow attack, fast release, ratio of 4, and compressing it until I see 5 or 7 decibels of gain reduction, and bringing up the gain quite a lot. And I'll disable EQ and compression, and you'll hear how it sounds. Yeah, this is for the first rec tom. Second rec tom, as I said, same settings, but going higher in frequencies, killing 330, 900, also boosting a little bit of air, 6K, same compressor settings, also filtering a 100. First floor tom, again same settings on compression and virtual channel, just adjusting the EQ, this time killing 250 and 700, also boosting a little bit of air. And floor tom, same thing, same compressor, same settings, going a little bit more higher in frequency. This time it's 220 and 650, and boosting also a little bit of 6K. Yeah, that's how I process toms. Let me find some tom part. You'll listen how it sounds. Pretty drastic difference, but it makes sense. That's about toms. For cymbals, what I've done is I split spot mics and overhead tracks into 2 different channels. And why I've done this is because I wanted to have more control on spot mics, but I processed them identically. So let's take a look at one overhead track first. Hauser EQ, boosting 12.5K with shelf to bring some air, bringing down 5K, where crashes tend to have this harsh sound, and that is for EQ. Then I'm filtering some lows, almost 200, but not too much, because I wanted to have snare body come through the overheads, because it sounds cool. And last, Slate Digital FG Gray compressor, and I use it to even out cymbals and tighten up drum shells that bleed into overhead mics. Slow attack, even slower release, ratio of 4, and hitting about 5 decibels of gain reduction. Let's listen how they sound. Now let's disable every plugin and engage them step by step. So here's without all the plugins. Great. As I said, spot mics have the same processing, so I won't go you through this. I just drag those into here, and that's it. Since those room tracks sound great on their own, I didn't have to do much of a processing, and what I've done to this NEAR track is I put this one plugin called Soft-Tube Fat Compressor, slow attack, fastest release, ratio of 4, bringing up the input, adjusting the output, and absolutely destroying the sound. Check it out. It adds a nice sustain to the room, and when it comes to fire mic, I have this CLA 76 made by Waves, attack all the way up, release in the middle, all ratio, and hitting about -10 dB. Then I put fader down a little bit on far mic to make those two be equal in volume, and then I send them both into this room bus. And what I have here is this SSL channel by Waves. You don't need room to be super low, so I cut a little bit of 120, killing a bit of 230, and yeah, cutting a little bit of presence. You can leave it at 0, but I like it. Check it out, how it sounds engaged. Cool. Now here comes a cool trick that I've learned from Nolly himself. To bring up snare drum in room mics, I used FabFilter Pro G gate, and I set ratio a bit less than 2, attack 0, release at 420. Because room sample is quite long. It's not just one hit. And what I'm doing is I set the mode to upward and use sidechain filter to focus in on snare frequency spectrum. Put sidechain bottom on. Then we go to our snare top mic, going to sends, sidechains, and sending it to this Room Pro G3. Now, since we are using upward mode, what it will do, so every time snare hits, room mics will become this like 1.69 times louder. Check out what happens when I turn it on and off. pretty drastic difference. And yeah, that's about it. For parallel compression I'm using this soft tube Fiat compressor. Input all the way up, ratio about 12, fast attack, even faster release. And since it has sidechain filter, I'm cutting a little bit of lows, so low end doesn't pop out of the mix. And check it out, it makes a drastic difference to the drum sound. I have to mention that every instrument has a different level of feeding into parallel compression. For kick I have -10, toms at 0, snare also 0, room tracks -10, overheads -14, and spot mics also -14. Yes, and for the reverb I started using this EOS reverb by Audio Damage. It's cool, it is probably the best reverb I've ever tried at this time. Still these settings because I don't care. And check it out. It's a very nice ambience, and I'm feeding this reverb into parallel compression also, but a very little bit. And only toms and snare have reverb on it. Toms tend to have -10 input level, I guess. Yeah, every tom is -10, and snare is -8. And after all the processing I send reverb, compression, snare bass, room bass, spot overheads and kick with toms to this overall drum bass. And what I have here is just this Neve style equalizer by Slate Digital, and what I use here is this, you know, top end boost, and I'm boosting it to almost 2.5 dB, but it makes the overall drum sound a little bit brighter. Check it out. You can also experiment with this drive knob, but I don't really like it, but it works, depends on the mix. And yeah, that's how I process my drums. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and I have to apologize about my English pronunciation. I'm a little bit nervous, I've never done this before, and if you like it, let me know, and feel free to ask anything. Cheers!